It's Life Day. We'll find a way. Take a holiday. It's Life Day. We'll find a way and take a holiday special. It's Life Day.
It is pointless to resist.
Take a holiday special.
This will be
It's
a day long
Life Day.
remembered.
We'll find a way to take a holiday.
I have you now.
It's Life Day. We'll find a way to take a holiday special.
What have you done?
So let's jump right into what looks to be a really exciting and pretty much jam-packed 2019 as far as Star Wars is concerned. Obviously, probably the biggest news will be Episode 9, the conclusion of the Skywalker saga. And who knows, as far as the future of Star Wars movies is concerned, for that matter. This may be the last one we have for some time. But on the bright side, we've got the new Disney Plus streaming service will be debuting, I believe, in August. Does anybody have a more accurate date than that? Last I heard it was August. Okay, so that's going to obviously contain a lot of Star Wars content, including the Mandalorian, Jon Favreau's live-action series. Also, we've got a series that was just announced within the last month or so, based on Cassian Andor. Obviously, a prequel. And we've also got new Clone Wars coming out, which of course I'm super excited about because one of my absolute favorite things about Star Wars is that series. We've got Galaxy's Edge opening in 2019 as well, so actually we'll have two grand openings for that because they're building one in Disneyland and one in Disney World. The Disneyland is scheduled to open in July, I believe, and then sometime in November is the Disney World down here in Orlando. So let's get things started. Where do you guys want to start? Which one piques your interest most of all?
There's one more thing I want to add to that. I mean, it's not really on the same level, but there's Star Wars Celebration in, I believe, April in Chicago. So, I mean, as far as Star Wars events and news goes, that's right up there near the top. I mean, I think it's the biggest convention center in the U.S., isn't it?
It is.
Chicago, so...
And I also believe this is supposed to be the largest Star Wars celebration yet, because I believe they've expanded it to 5 days.
Yeah, Thursday through Monday. Yeah,
Thursday through Sunday. This is now going to be Wednesday through Sunday.
Why don't we start there? Do you know who
I think it's
will be
Thursday
attending?
through Monday, actually. Thursday, Friday,
Oh,
Saturday,
Thursday.
Sunday, Monday. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't.
believe so.
I thought
Thursday is like a preview day where if you're let in early to get some of the exclusives and stuff like that for people that are there a day early. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are kind of normal. And then I don't know what they're doing on Monday. So
Do we know who will be the guests?
no.
Not yet. I haven't seen yet, and if history has plays a role in this, they didn't announce a lot of the other ones until I wouldn't say last minute, but I'd say within
it'll be in January, February they'll start announcing them.
At least, if not later, if not March. So because that was one of the honestly that was one of the frustrating things for the one and the last one that you guys came and we all went to in Orlando. They didn't announce, for instance, Mark Hamill until what?
2 weeks
Just
before.
Yeah.
They still had a few. That's one of the things that actually kind of worried me about it because I'd already been to a couple of them prior to that, and for some reason I remember them announcing the guests a lot more, with a lot more time. And plus I'm also used to attending a lot of the Walker Stalker cons, and they're really good about announcing their people almost a year out sometimes.
Conventions do have a problem though with people canceling. Well after the tickets are sold, and the admission isn't refundable. So that's so at least you don't get that. But like Forrest Whitaker at the last celebration was announced like the day before or something. I mean, up to the very last second, they were still bringing people in. So far, they've only announced one guest that I've seen, and I think it was an ILM. From ILM or something that's worked on the new movies or something like that. I mean, they're going to have a ton of guests. What's going to be interesting to me is that Topps took over the autographing and photo ops part of it for the last celebration. So all the people, celebrity-wise, that were there got their first experience with that, is the middleman or whatever. And I'm wondering if that might put off some people, or that would have normally been there, or vice versa, or whatever, because it was really crazy. It wasn't done very well, in our opinion, and I think most of our opinions, and makes me wonder if some of those people might, because I'm sure they can make good money and a good appearance going to smaller conventions, and not necessarily have to deal with Tops, running the show on every single thing. So
Tops will be running autographs again at this.
As far as I know, they have the contract for the photo ops and the autographs. Yeah, still.
Oh, that's disappointing.
That's very disappointing because I agree with you, Greedo. They didn't run it very well at all.
Disaster,
the information was the information delivery was piss poor. The organization was bad. The two celebrations I went to prior to that, everything ran really smoothly. And I don't know, obviously it was a change in company who's in charge of it that did it. I don't get it. Why they?
I still believe too. They oversold every single, because they sold photo ops and autograph tickets in advance, and then
right.
Mark Hamill, I don't know how many they sold before they called it sold out, but it was way too many because they said, don't make eye contact, don't tell him you like him, don't, they were ordering people to basically just walk by a few feet in front of him and not say anything, just so that they could get more people in there faster. And I understand once the deed is done, you want to get everybody in. I wanted everybody to get an autograph, but your greed is dictating the pace at that point. And the people that went to a con a few years ago and could walk up and say hi and have a short conversation, that's what they think an autograph is. And they're paying even more now, and they're getting incredibly less because they're trying to shovel all these people through. And it's not about customer service, the experience anymore. It's just about what you walk out the door with and them getting all the money they possibly can out of it. So
it's ridiculous when you're going, you could buy an autograph online. When you're waiting in line for hours to get an autograph from a celebrity, you want to meet them. You want to have at least a moment to tell them how you appreciate their work. Even say a sentence.
Well, I think if you're going to sell a product, you should tell people what it's really going to be like. Because if you haven't done it before, or if you did it a long time ago, you have unrealistic expectations of what you're buying. And it leads to very unhappy people and a lot of problems and stuff. So there's no need for any of that. Just be honest about it. It's going to sell itself no matter what. If you could sell people standing 10 feet away and just looking, as they sign your item, and people would buy that. They would buy whatever you put out there.
Do either of you know anything about the state of ticket sales right now? Are the tickets selling the way that they have a past celebration?
The weekend sold out pretty quickly. The VIPs and all that sold out. The Thursday sold out recently. It was Thursday and Monday left, and as far as I know, it's either Sunday or Monday. There's still some tickets left. But because of the way it's constructed, you can get them. You can buy them secondhand.
But having said those things, I have to say that I would love to go to Celebration again.
Me too. Yeah.
For all of
absolutely.
the hardships, we had a great time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was amazing. And then obviously, if it comes back to Orlando, I'll be there because it's just right up the road from me. So yeah, and I have a feeling, obviously, with the Disney ownership and all that, it's probably going to be a regular feature here in Orlando and probably Anaheim as well, like they had 2 celebrations ago.
So anyway, that's a big event, and we kind of got sidetracked with our opinions on that. Hopefully, Topps will start to make changes based on their experience, but I don't know. That was pretty bad. I don't even know how you could really mess it up as bad as they did.
No, I agree. It was
a disaster.
It was really poorly handled. And okay, let me ask you this: refresh my memory. The only autograph I got at the last one we went to was Mark Hamill?
Right.
Did you guys stood in line for some of the other?
We got 5
actors,
or 6
correct?
altogether.
Okay.
I think.
So how did the experience compare? Like to the Mark Hamill one?
You want to take that one?
They were all basically the same, except for in terms of
interaction.
Yeah, you were allowed more interaction with the
smaller the guest, the more interaction.
Yes, the actors playing side characters. Like we had a wonderful experience with Jeremy Bullock. where they allowed us time to speak with him, and he was so gracious and sweet.
And it wasn't even a minute, but it felt great because it was it was quality, you know.
Right.
Yes.
So there's a way to do
like
it.
Being rushed out.
Yeah, but
I mean, maybe that is just something that boils down to the fact that it was Mark Hamill, and also
that was a big part of it.
And also, you remember he had laryngitis that day too, and they were also saying, "Look, he can't talk to you, so just move on."
Yeah.
You know, and he had because he had his Q&A or whatever you want to call it, his appearance on the main stage a couple hours after he got his autograph.
And we kind of dwelt on that when we're talking about it here about them rushing us past, but it wasn't just that. It was every aspect of it was messed up. I could go on and on, but I won't. And also Topps, since they took over this thing, their quality of photographs that they give to people is much poorer as well, which is disappointing. They literally have prints of things that have artifacts, that they haven't cleaned up, and they sell these prints for good money if you buy them on the website, to take them to go get them autographed yourself or whatever. Anyway, the quality of the prints has gone down. The organization was awful. It wasn't just about that, but the celebration was so big that everyone, I think, was fatigued. None of the celebrities came off very well, except for Ian McDermott, Jeremy Bullock, Ray Park, Daniel Logan was great because Daniel Logan did a lightsaber duel with one of the people getting signed.
Oh wow!
Right in front of us. So
that was fun.
Some people had the energy and exuberance to handle it right, and some didn't. But overall, I would call that whole part very disappointing. But I'm very happy that we did it. But it really put me off for a minute. Like, do I ever want to do this again as far as getting autographs and meeting the person? I don't know.
Well,
the photo op with Mark was great, though. We all had a blast with that. And that was just a few seconds as well.
That was a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, those are notoriously just the cattle call aspect of these conventions, or the professional photo. Everybody kind of knows that, I think, going in. They usually tell you, you're there, you put your stuff down, smile, bang, and you're out the door,
And we knew that because you were with us, but none of us really knew to expect how much of a cattle call the autographs would be.
And
we thought that was where we get a second,
Right now, it's the other way around. Technically, at least all the ones I've been to, you get your time when you get your autograph. You usually get that minute to a minute and a half to kind of interact. Whereas, the cattle call is the photo op.
But anyway, no, we've gone on enough on it, I think. But safe to say, there's a whole bunch of reasons that Topps needs to improve, and hopefully they will for everybody that's going to be at Chicago. I certainly hope so. And because there's nothing worse than, I understand that there's all these things that need to be done. We're in a different world now. But the no fun police just having a stranglehold on everything and walking off with a armored truck full of cash is not the way to grow your business. So I don't know how long it will take if that continues for people to get the word, because Star Wars is so popular. But you got to think about the future too, and how you're treating people that are your customer base. So I hope that all gets resolved. And there was a fiasco just this last week where Topps on their website had a coupon for a certain percentage off if you spent so much money on the website. Well, one of the two items that they had listed that you could use on that coupon were 2 Harrison Ford autographed, like 8x10s or 11x14s. So people were buying the autographed item, and they would buy a card box or whatever to get to that amount to get so they were getting the Ford autographs like half off, a really crazy deal. But it was all right there on the website. Well, Topps turned around and said, oh, well, that was a mistake. The Ford stuff wasn't supposed to be included in that. So they were refunding people's purchases on the Ford autograph and not refunding them for the other items they bought to get to that dollar amount to get the coupon.
Wow.
And they were just too bad, so sad.
It's like a classic bait and switch there.
Yeah. So let's just say they're going to have to go a long freaking way to impress me at this point. And I have, a bunch of their cards. But, not real hip on them right now as a company. And that didn't happen to me, but I saw it happening, through social media, some of the groups I'm in. And you talk about disappointing. Wow. Hopefully they'll fix it, but it's just typical of a company that doesn't really care, And I hate when we see Star Wars and things we love slipping into the hands of people like that. It bugs me. So
absolutely.
Okay, so anyway, celebration. Hopefully people will have a blast at that. What else were we? What do we want to talk about next?
What we'd
on
like to
those
talk about
events.
next. Let's switch it over to Gundark and see what she would like to talk about next.
How about the television series? I think I'm most excited about the
Which
two
one?
The Mandalorian.
new live action. Yeah, the
Okay, so we
Mandalorian
got two coming
and
up, so.
the one starring Cassian Andor. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
unexpected.
Right.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
still don't even have that in my mind. Like every time you say it, it's like a surprise. What? There's a Cassian Andor series because it doesn't have a name, I guess, yet or anything,
No,
right?
not yet. Yeah, the Mandalorian. We know that Pedro Pascal, who was in Game of Thrones a couple of years ago.
Oberyn Martell. Yep.
To those, yeah.
Hold on a second.
And so,
Hold on a second. Let's.
um,
Did you guys lose me?
I lost both of you. Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
lost
lost you
both.
for
It
a
was just
second.
it was just for like 3 seconds, but it came back.
Yeah, but everybody completely froze. Everything was silent. And then I had
Yeah.
that weird dialing. I boop boop boop. Went for a second.
Uh-oh.
Guys back. So.
I had a warning a few minutes ago said poor internet connection again.
We'll just start over from where you were talking about Pedro Pascal. Is that his name?
Let's
Yeah.
take it from
Yeah, just start there.
Oberyn Martell.
Okay, yeah.
we just call him Oberyn Martell.
It's going to star over in Marcel. Pedro Pascal. Have you seen Narcos? He's also wonderful in that show on Netflix.
Oh, I hear
That's
that's a
actually-
great show.
I
right?
love-
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. It's a
Yeah.
great show, and so he's outstanding, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in that. Who else was cast? Let me see. They just this week released a full cast list. Giancarlo Esposito, who played Gus, the Chicken Man in Breaking Bad, and in Better Call Saul.
He's an amazing actor.
He was in Westworld this last season of Westworld too. So
Was he?
yeah, he's really cool. But they're not
I
telling
don't
us.
remember that.
He played the
Was he with
He
the
was-
company or something?
no, he was the android. I'm trying to remember who helped lead a rebellion. I can't. I'll have to look it up. But he
Yeah.
played an android gunslinger, head of a gang,
Oh, okay.
who was in there for maybe 2-3 episodes of last season.
Was he the Civil War commander?
Yes.
That's
No,
what it was. That's
yes.
what- Yeah, he was the general or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they were storming the almost like the Alamo type of setup. It wasn't the Alamo,
Right,
obviously, that's not so.
right.
But you know what I mean.
I just
the,
don't
yeah,
remember who
that
that was, but yeah, I remember
Yeah.
what you're talking about now.
But he's also going to be in the Mandalorian.
Yeah, and let's see, Werner Herzog, who is a odd choice, a wonderful German director. Like I think of Fitzcarraldo, and he did the remake of Nosferatu so many decades ago. And again, they're not giving any information about what characters these actors will play. Gina Carano from Deadpool, Emily Swallow from Supernatural, Carl Weathers from
Yeah,
Rocky and
from
Rocky
Rocky
and
fame,
Predator, yeah.
Apollo Creed.
And then maybe, honest of all, Nick Nolte.
Yeah, very strange.
I don't know what Nick Nolte even looks like these days or anything, because like he must be obviously playing a very old character or an alien or
Oh
something.
yeah.
Because my first
And then-
thought is he bears a passing resemblance, or used to the general that gave Cassian his orders in Rogue One. You said, don't make sure he doesn't come back alive or whatever. Who seemed like he was maybe in charge of the secret police for the rebellion or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he's way too old to be playing that part now, I think. So.
And we know, too, what the Mandalorian will be set after Return of the Jedi, right? After the fall of the Empire.
Right, I believe it's only maybe 3 to 5 years after the fall of the Empire. So it's before the establishment of the First Order.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I've heard, too, that it will probably be set in, like, Outer Rim territories, and it will have
That's
a
what I've
kind
heard,
of
yeah.
Western motif to it.
It sounds like it's just going to take place as basically a space Western, when Star Wars already kind of is in a lot of ways. But yeah, it seems like it's going to kind of be focused on just a Western feel. Yeah.
I'm betting they'll use that setting that is in the Galaxy's Edge park, Disney park.
Oh yeah.
That's
They
like a
probably will,
planet,
yeah.
right?
Right.
That matches that description. I bet they'll use that as a location to introduce that into the Star Wars consciousness and everything.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, and Pedro Pascal, I think he was the person who released this last week. I believe he made a tweet where he showed a photograph of a sketch of his costume for the Mandalorian character, and of course it looked like Boba Fett, but it also had a cape that looked remarkably like a spaghetti western kind of Clint Eastwood type cape, and so it looked even more like a western motif. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that came from him. And then we know that Jon Favreau is the showrunner. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's kind of the creative director and showrunner for the series. And I want to talk about a little bit about. They've also announced who the directors are going to be for the first season.
Oh,
and keep in mind, have you guys heard about the budget this thing has been given?
Like $1 million an episode or something?
Yeah, it's basically the same as Game of Thrones, basically. So we should be expecting some high quality cinematic, looking show here. So,
which season of Game of Thrones? I wonder.
I think current.
Oh wow!
I mean, all the way up to now. Yeah, they'll basically be picking up budget wise where Game of Thrones is leaving off. So should be interesting. But the directors that they've mentioned so far is out. The one doing the first episode, I'm gonna mention him last because I want to connect him with something else. But we've got Deborah Chow, who's known for directing episodes of Jessica Jones. I don't know if you guys have seen that series.
Wow.
I actually have not, but I've heard good things. Rick, I'm gonna butcher this name. Rick Famuyiwa.
Okay.
He's directed Dope.
All right.
Taika Waititi. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm butchering these names.
Is that
the
director of Ragnarok?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, in a very interesting choice, Bryce Dallas Howard. So that should be interesting. You guys know who that is?
No.
She's the actress from the Jurassic World series, the kind of the reboot of Jurassic Park. She's she's Ron Howard's daughter.
Oh wow! and she'll be directing.
She's directing. Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, she does that. I'm not sure what her credits are. What I'm reading here is there's a show called Soulmates that she's directed. But I'm interested to see what kind of her take on it as well. But the one I wanted to wait and get to was Dave Filoni is going to be directing, I believe, 2 episodes, including the first episode. So this is his first foray into live action, because obviously, as we know, he's the creative director of all the animated stuff of the last few years, Clone Wars and Rebels, and now Resistance. Although, from what I understand, he's been pulled off of everything. Not pulled off completely, but he's operating with the Clone Wars and the animated stuff now, kind of like George Lucas did it originally with Clone Wars. Just kind of an advisor. He would meet with them once or twice a week, and just whereas Dave Filoni was like the on the ground, creative director. Now he's sort of in that George Lucas role of like just kind of overseeing it from afar. And now I've seen that there's reports of him being on the set of The Mandalorian basically daily. Learning the ropes, and I think this is an interesting choice. I think this is a smart move by Star Wars. I mean, I don't know what your guys' take is on Dave Filoni or how much you know about him, but to me, I have a feeling this is going to be the guy who eventually takes over for Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah,
he's been there for several years now. I mean, this guy just literally has Star Wars flowing through his veins, and he's good at it. That's my thing, is he's really good at it. I mean, he's, like I said, he's the creative force behind the Clone Wars, and you guys know how I feel about that show. But now I'm really anxious to see what he does with live action, because obviously it's a different thing than animation. So, but I hope it translates well, because I'd love to see I'd love to see him take the mantle and kind of run with Star Wars for a while and see what he can do with it.
I'm excited to hear that. I didn't know they had that roster of directors. That's wonderful. So they're really putting effort into getting a quality cast and quality producers for the show.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it.
That's impressive.
All right, anything else on the Mandalorian before we move on?
I think that's all that I know about it.
Yeah.
But I think we're all psyched to see it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when is it due?
I believe, well, it's not going to start, of course, until the Disney streaming service goes on. So I would be assuming that this would be something they would have within the first month of it premiering. You know, I'm guessing.
They're going to use it kind of like CBS Access used the new Star Trek Discovery series to draw in new subscribers right at the beginning of the service. Yeah.
And this is why I think we're going to get so much, just tons of Star Wars content, because you're going to want to keep the people spending their money.
Yeah.
You know, I can literally envision within a couple of years, I think, a day when there's never not any Star Wars on that.
Like every quarter, they're going to be
releasing
something new. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's like you'll have, you know, a season of The Mandalorian with a 2-week break, and then a season of the Cassian Andor series, and then the Clone Wars, and then, you know, so something to keep people paying all year long. So,
and no telling what they'll do with Marvel. Also, I mean, Marvel has all kinds of potential stuff.
Oh
there.
They're known for
shows,
amazing shows. Yeah.
Why don't we move on to the next show that was announced, the Cassian Andor show. Which was totally unexpected, although your reasoning behind that, Corellian, that, you know, you would need another show to take over once your first season of The Mandalorian ends. You want another live-action show to pick up. Now it makes sense to me. But I was originally really surprised that there's suddenly have a second live-action show.
It took me by surprise as well. You know, of all people, I didn't expect a Cassian Andor series. I think it's great. And the fact that, you know, the same actor will be reprising his role.
Yeah.
Which makes it even better. It's not like they're even going to recast. So that leads you to believe, obviously, it has to take place before Rogue One, based on the ending of Rogue One. Also, he's going to be a little bit younger, but from what I understand, it's only going to take place within just a couple of years of what, you know, the events of Rogue One. Although, you know, you could do it anytime you wanted. I mean, not with the same actor, but according to what his character even says, he's been in the rebellion since he was 6 years old. You know, so. So, you know, obviously they're not going to have a 6-year-old Cassian Andor series, but
which is interesting because it makes him a separatist, basically. When you do the math, which
if you do the math age, he's been doing that before Order 66 and all that. Yeah, exactly. So, from what I understand too, much in the way that The Mandalorian is going to be a Western, this is going to basically be just a spy thriller. So that's going to kind of
jump in there on that point and tell you something I'm excited about. Stephen Schiff is going to be the showrunner for that, the guy who was the showrunner for the espionage thriller The Americans, which was the animated series. Yeah, so that was shock. Yeah, that was a dark series, and he's going to be the showrunner for this. So he's got a background in dealing with dark spy stories.
Yeah.
So,
how dark will they go, and how adult will
That's
they
what
go?
I'm wondering.
Because the Americans is, you know, you wouldn't let kids watch that for sure.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and I'm really...
I don't think they would ever get Star Wars to the point that the kids can't watch it. But I could see them. I mean, now that if you've got a palette like a streaming service, you can do pretty much whatever you want.
You could do a TV rate, you know, 14 and above or something, or you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can do like a 14 plus show.
And then Rogue One was a darker film too, you know, and I mean, Cassian was introduced shooting an informer in the back,
killing one of his own, basically one of his own informants. Yeah,
and the picture he painted of his past was pretty bleak. He said, we're all here because we've done things we're not proud of. Right. We did them for the right reasons or the right cause, but we're all guilty. And we just want a shot at redemption. Basically, they were implying that everyone there kind of felt like they owed their lives for the things they had done in the past. And they were willing to lay them down to try for something, for this moment that they've all been working for, to see something good actually come out of everything bad they'd done. So, yeah, that could get a little gray area for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm all for it. You know, I have no problem with that. I like things with a dark, you know, theme to them, and I don't think Star Wars should be immune to that, and it's not. I mean, obviously we've had a lot of dark things that have happened in Star Wars, not predominantly, but it happens.
I will say one thing. I think most of the potential audience out there, and a huge portion of the fans, it may sound played out and everything, but it's just not. I don't think it'll ever be for a long time. They want to see Jedi stuff, and I don't know we're ever going to get away from that expectation. It's the lightsabers, Jedi stuff is big all over the world. It's huge all over the world. There's saber fighting groups. There's and they've never really totally come out and catered to that for whatever reason. And now with effects and things and becoming cheaper and they're investing money in these things, there's everybody wants to see like Old Republic, like Knights of the Old Republic, like the old game, that had one of the best storylines according to people, in Star Wars ever. People want to see those characters. People, if you're going to do, unfortunately the sequels have kind of messed it up, but if you're going to do after Return of the Jedi, you could have Jedi back in it again. But according to the sequels, there really weren't any or something. But so that kind of takes that out of the picture. But I will just say that if they ever do a really good, if they put this kind of work into it and money and do a series that even has the Jedi even peripherally in it or anything, that's what people really want to see. So this Mandalorian thing seems like a really good spot to start, though, because if you're not going to do a Boba Fett movie, which for whatever reason got canceled, then this is a good middle ground. The Star Wars is the kind of outer space western, and exploring some of the aliens, grimy characters and stuff. It is a good place to start, but I just think there's a huge audience out there that still wants to see Jedi content. And if you have people fighting with lightsabers, they're super happy.
There's a possibility you might have a Jedi cameo in the Mandalorian. You really can't, I think, in the Cassian show because the Jedi are underground then. But in the Mandalorian maybe. But speaking about the time frame of the two shows, let me say something about what I'm hoping for in terms of characters. The Cassian Andor show, I'm kind of hoping that some of the characters that showed up in the Han Solo movie might be referenced in that show, because since the Solo movie did so poorly at the box office compared to other Star Wars films, and it made Lucasfilm rethink their commitment to the anthology films, and obviously it looked like from the plot of that film that they were planning on making more Han Solo, Lando, Darth Maul movies. If they're not going to be doing that, maybe those character story arcs could work their way into the Cassian Andor show, even with Darth Maul's work with organized crime. It's not that far off in terms of time-wise.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I think either show the timeline would work, actually, because one is set right before the original trilogy and one set right after. So you could have Donald Glover play a slightly older Lando. I mean, it's different from his part in Solo, where you're saying he's still got 10 years or whatever until he turns into Billy D. Williams. But at some point, you got to accept, he's a different interpretation of the character. It's not like he's going to grow old and become Billy D. Williams. So you could have some of these characters cross over even in The Mandalorian. You could just make them up to be older. You could have a Donald Glover playing a little older Lando post Jedi. Because some characters would be easier to make cameos with than others, I think. And you've got some of them that might be perfect. And I also think she's probably maybe too big a star, but Game of Thrones will be over at some point. What's her name who played
Emilia Clarke?
Emilia Clarke.
Yeah. She's of course the perfect choice when you look at it to kind of bring in to some of those things. So yeah.
And both of those worlds can deal with the organized crime element.
She would make a good whatever you call it, foil maybe for Cassian or some of the as both a kind of a imperial and criminal thing mixed. And you could bring in the potential force powers and stuff there if Darth Maul taught or anything.
Yeah.
Right, and I could actually see them doing a Red Dawn series.
Yeah.
And that would be like the crime syndicate based show in that timeline, and we could even bring in Emilia Clarke as the lead role because you got the star power right there. Obviously, she'd be expensive, but it's not like they don't have money for this. So I could see her leading the charge on a series like that. I think that would be pretty fascinating, and that's another vehicle that you could really bring in those solo characters, and you could even, if for that matter, you could bring in, Lando, you could bring in Han, and just on cameo appearances here and there, but it would have that appeal, I think, and it is possible to do. So I would love to see that. I think that'd be really fantastic.
I would like to see, it doesn't work out for these concepts, but and for these particular characters, but I'd like to see more Guardians of the Wills characters and explore. It doesn't have to be a show about them, but I'd like to see them show up and figure out more about who they are and what they did before they were destroyed, there on Jeddah and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wonder even if Chirrut Imwe could come back, if they could. Would there be any way to have Donnie Yen in it?
No, because they would know each other. I mean, they would have known each other in Rogue One.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He's dead at the end of Rogue One, so...
Yeah, you can't.
But he said, look for the Force and you'll find me. So if we just look for the Force, we'll find him, I guess.
But I'm most excited about the live-action shows. Now, Corellian, I know how much you love Clone Wars, and I still got to watch it. Why don't you talk about what's coming up with Clone Wars?
Okay. Well, as everybody knows by now, of course, they announced at Comic-Con back in July that they are going to have a season 7 of Clone Wars. Clone Wars, ended already at the end of season 6, which technically were kind of labeled the Lost Missions, because they kind of ended after 5, and they just sort of finished up a couple of loose threads here and there with a shortened season 6, which I believe is only about 13 episodes, shorter than the normal 20 plus. But yeah, they've so far only committed to, I think, 13 new episodes, but they haven't said that's all. They haven't said we're only doing 13 more episodes and then we're done. So obviously the optimists, those of us who love the Clone Wars, are like, okay, maybe that's just season 7, and then they'll just keep going. Because based on my idea of, hey, we're always going to need new content for the streaming service.
Sure.
Why not? If it's still popular, why not throw out another season 8, a season? Now obviously at some point you're going to reach the point of diminishing returns, because the stories are going to grow thin. Because how long can the Clone Wars actually go on?
Right.
Yeah.
We have to have an end point. And if you watch, season 6 in particular, there's a story arc that deals directly with Order 66, and some things start leaning towards the intro to episode 3. So you can't just go on.
Major characters like Ahsoka leave. And it's established they have an endpoint, so it's hard to bring them back.
Absolutely, you can't bring them back unless, I guess, the only way you could bring them back is if they don't have any interaction with the like a solo adventure.
And that's the other point I want to make real quick is I hope they do a Star Wars anthology show where they give different authors a chance to write different stories set in the Star Wars universe, and we get to sample a lot of different characters and stuff. And don't worry about trying to continue it. Make them standalone, really killer stories, like Black Mirror in the Star Wars universe or something. I apologize for interrupting. Back to Clone Wars.
No, not at all.
I just forgot to mention that.
It's life day, we'll find a way, take a holiday. It's life day, we'll find a way and take a holiday special.